When people think of the Middle East today, they think of a land that's dangerous and unstable. Now, there's a lot of dangerous places on the earth today, but the Middle East is different. This is where most of the world's oil supply is located. If something goes wrong, then we can't get to that oil, and we say goodbye to our modern society. So the rest of the world cares a lot about stability in the Middle East. Let's take a look here at how this place became so unstable. We might learn a few things if we go back, all the way back, to the start of our way of living that we know today. Now, some people will say that the problems in the Middle East are easy to explain. It's all because of those damn ragheads. They would just want to kill everybody. I hope that we can find a little more deeper understanding than that. But on the other hand, we cannot lose sight that many of the problems in the Middle East are because there are some people who want to kill the outsiders. But why do they want to kill? That's what we hope to look at in this series of presentations. Let's go back all the way to the start of Western civilization. It was about 5,000 years ago when people began to live in cities, when they began to develop complex societies. They began to do this in several places of the world right around at the same time. They began to do this between the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers, along the Nile River, and in the east along the Ganges River in India and the Yangtze River in China. One of these days I'll explore Eastern civilization, but not today. Now, what was it that allowed people to start living in cities? What single development allowed civilization to start? Thank you for your answer, but it's wrong. Unless, of course, you answered agriculture. You see, it's tough for people to live in a hunting-gathering society because you spend most of your day just looking for food. But when people began to figure out how to grow fields of wheat and other crops, they found that a small number of people could feed a large number of people. So instead of everybody looking in the bushes every day, a few people took care of the food problem, and everybody else could use the time for other pursuits. So you had some who ground the wheat into flour and baked it into loaves of bread. Others worked with metal, some with leather or pottery, gold. Some could work with numbers, and others figured out that they could take mud, bake it into hardened bricks, and build houses with it. All these different people made their different products, and they were able to sell them for items of value, which they could use to buy food and other stuff. It was the start of the market. Some people found that they were good at telling others what to do, and they became kings. Others were good at fighting, and they became soldiers. Still others explored the mysteries of the world, or they skillfully concealed these mysteries. These people became the priests. All these different jobs became possible because people did not have to spend all their time looking for food. People in the ancient world made great achievements. They developed written communication, they trained animals to drive their transportation, they developed the marketplace. For the most part of 5,000 years, people have lived pretty much the same way as the ancient peoples. It's been only in the last 100 years or so that we stopped using animals for transportation, and we found ways to record communication without writing it down. But in many other ways, we still live like the ancients. We still have the institutions of government, religion, and business, and we still have this ancient idea of living in cities. Now, the land between the rivers seems like it has always been unstable. The city of Babel may have been one of the first cities built in the world. The Sumerians dominated this area for a while, but they suffered invasions from the Akkadians, from the Kassites, the Hurrians, the people in the mountains. When you read the story of this ancient land, you read about invasion after invasion, and it's not a very interesting story to us now because we no longer know most of these people. They've disappeared long ago. The people who lived between the rivers suffered war in pillaging armies, and the rivers sometimes burst forth in flash floods, causing havoc and ruin. Now, the land of Egypt stands in stark contrast to the land between the rivers. The ancient Egyptians didn't really suffer very many invasions. Invaders couldn't cross the harsh Sahara Desert to the west, and they couldn't cross the treacherous swamps to the south. Now, people did cross the seas to the east and the north side of Egypt, but they weren't able to cross in numbers that were sufficient for an invasion. Most of the time, the people in Egypt lived in peace year after year after year. Now, the Nile River is a great example of the peacefulness of this region. The Nile River flooded, but it did so gradually and on a regular basis. Every 365 days, the Nile began to flood. It rose slowly, and then it receded, and it left behind mud that was good for growing crops. Year after year passed like this in peace for the Egyptians. The Nile River flooded, then went back down again without causing havoc and ruin. It's no wonder that the Egyptians viewed their gods as kind and beneficent. They had the time to think about these things. They became obsessed with the afterlife. And they also had the time to build up the pyramids and other magnificent monuments. And they built some marvelous treasures. I didn't even try to draw the Sphinx. People would have laughed at it. You know what the Sphinx looks like. And we've seen some of the great treasures of Egypt. We've seen the museum exhibits of King Tut. And you should go to your local library, pick up a book on ancient Egypt, and just sit down and marvel at the great things that these people could build such a long time ago. It seems like the human race has gone backwards from the accomplishments from the Egyptians. And that's where the trouble comes. You see, people live in the Middle East today, and they've grown up with the reminders of these great civilizations. And today, the people of the Middle East do not rule the world. The rest of the world rules the Middle East, economically, culturally, politically. The countries of the Middle East have independence, but pressure is placed upon them from all sides. A couple of guys might go to a place for lunch, and across the street might be an archaeological site where the wonders of the past have been unearthed. It's very likely that these guys might say things like, look, our ancestors lived in glory when their ancestors lived in caves. So why are they the ones telling us what to do today? And that's one of the things that causes problems in the Middle East. That's why there are some people who want to kill the outsiders. It's because the glory of the Middle Eastern people is in the past. It is not in the present. We'll take a look next time at how the glories of the ancient world are causing problems for the world today.